There's no question that in terms of getting up and going to the office, a man who's been governor and had a sterling business career crosses the qualification threshold. I just regret that, my instinct, though, you know me, I don't think I should have to say bad things about Governor Romney personally to disagree with him politically. And what I think we need to do is to find some way to avoid the fiscal cliff.
So does that mean extending the tax cuts?
They will probably have to put everything off until early next year. That's probably the best thing to do. I'm very sorry about what happened yesterday. It was what I thought something had to be done on the fiscal cliff before the election. Apparently nothing has to be done until the first of the year.
Let's talk about it now on our roundtable. I see former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, chuckling over there. You ran a lot of campaigns against Bill Clinton, and this is a guy it seems like you know.
I know him well, and the thought that he didn't really fully understand when those tax cuts would kick in. Look, this is the smartest political mind alive today, and I have nothing but extraordinary respect for Bill Clinton. I like him personally, and I think
you do a pretty mean Bill Clinton imitation, too.
I have been known to. But I tell you what, I think the pragmatic way in which Bill Clinton governed as president makes even Republicans want to get the bumper strips that say, I miss Bill. Because he understood that in governing, you do have to sit down and work out your differences. He was a governor. He was an executive. He understood the dynamics of it. I think what is really hurting Barack Obama, he simply does not understand the dynamics of being the chief executive because he's never had that position before as a governor, a mayor, heck, not even a sheriff. He has never been in that position, and it's showing.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Governor. I'll go after you, Governor. You get him first.
The answer is it's hard to expect the president to reach out when in the first year, middle of the first year, the Republican leader in the Senate says our #1 priority is to defeat the president, not to pass legislation that's good for America. And the Republican Party, George, that's been their mantra ever since. They don't want him to succeed. They don't want any legislation to pass. They want to defeat him.
How about this issue of President Clinton? Is he good for Barack Obama or not?
Sure he is. In October, he will be the best spokesman, the best persuader in the country. And by saying nice things about Governor Romney now, which are true, Governor Romney is clearly qualified to be president. By saying those things, he's setting up his credibility with those undecided voters. Watch Bill Clinton in October.
Oh, I mean, first of all, the idea that somehow Obama doesn't understand how to be president, he doesn't understand how to reach across the line. He has tried on every single issue to reach across, and he has his hand slapped on every single issue. Now his to-do list is literally the Republican Party's to-do list. He's saying, let's give tax cuts to small businesses. They won't do that. He's saying, let's give homeowners the tools to cut red tape and get refinancing on their homes, on their own expense. The Republicans won't do that. They won't pass their own agenda because it's Barack Obama. That is what he's up against. So the idea that somehow this guy doesn't know how to be presidential, no, the fact is these lawmakers don't know how to be lawmakers. That's the problem.
Well, first of all, I think it's silly to say that, the Republicans wanted to defeat Obama. Of course they did. And you guys wanted to defeat Bush.
But we didn't hurt
they're different governing. Okay, they're doing it again. I get half a sentence in, and they both start talking.
You're just so good.
Of course, with their different governing philosophies, the parties want to defeat one another. The specific tax cuts, no, we are always against targeted tax cuts. No, we want tax cuts across the boards, and you guys not picking winners and losers. And finally, no, just cut taxes. As for Clinton, I mean, what was appalling about Clinton was his entire personal life. What was attractive about Clinton was he was the rarest of political animals, an actual moderate Democrat, except for the abortion ladies. I mean, he signed welfare, he signed tax cuts. Once the Gingrich Congress came in, he was a very moderate Democrat, and that was a plan that worked, and I think he actually is frustrated with a very left-wing president.
Some Republicans believe that this is deliberate on Clinton's behalf. He's deliberately trying to undermine the Obama campaign. Bill Kristol wrote that in the Weekly Standard. You don't buy that,
No, here's what I think. I think Bill Clinton can't help his candor. He's out of office. He's in a position now where he is the senior statesman, not just of the Democratic Party, but in many ways of America. And when he's asked a question, he says what he honestly thinks. Now and then he gets in trouble with the Obama people because he said something that actually was very true, and they don't like it because the truth is hurting right now.
And might not he be right on the issue of extending the tax cuts at least for 2 or 3 or 4 months into next year to get over that uncertainty that's going to come right after the election, or you don't think so?
Well, the president has leverage to get what he wants with the tax cuts. And I think if the Republicans are serious about tax reform, like Tom Coburn, one of the most conservative members of the Senate is, then I think there can be a deal that will take care of the debt limit, will eat away at our deficit. We can do Simpson Bowles. And yes.
But after the election.
After the election, clearly.
Let's talk about who might be Mitt Romney's top surrogate going forward. There were some hints this week reported in Politico that he might be looking to choose someone quite early, well before the convention, to have another fundraiser, another surrogate out there. And at the CPAC conference this week, they ran a straw poll of the conservatives' favorites. Marco Rubio up at the top, followed by Chris Christie, Paul Ryan, Rand Paul, Bobby Jindal, the governor of Louisiana, and then Rick Santorum down at 5%. I'm going to ask you, Governor Huckabee, the same question I asked Rick Santorum. Have you been asked by the Romney campaign for your background information? Would you give it if they did?
I have not been asked. I think there's a greater likelihood that I'll be asked by Madonna to go on tour as her bass player than I'll be picked to be on the ticket.
So then who should he pick?
You know, I like anybody he picks, I believe is going to be the result of a very thoughtful, methodical choice. The one thing I admire most about Mitt Romney is that he is not a guy that just acts out of some impetuous, visceral reaction. He's very thoughtful, methodical. He will make what would really be a very careful business decision. And whoever he selects, I believe, will be the result of a very thoughtful process. And we'll all get behind him as a Republican.
You hear the thinking out of the Romney campaign, or being reported, is that they're looking for a boring, do-no-harm candidate. Is that the right kind of thinking?
Well, first of all, no, I have not been asked. And I would not accept it if offered. I'm holding out for HHS secretary. I agree with Governor Huckabee. It will be a methodical process, and I'm always wrong at guessing these things. But no, I think absolutely the best candidate would be Chris Christie, because you need a pugilist vice president, and that is what Romney is not. He will not attack. Christie will. You need...
Even if that comes to making a few mistakes along the way.
I don't think he makes that many mistakes. I mean, it's like the alleged mistakes of Mitt Romney. It can be taken out of context, turned around, and have liberals be hysterical about it. But I think Christie is a very smart man, and he has a sort of ethnic appeal, and it works in the South, it works throughout the country, and he has gone after the single biggest issue facing the country, and the Republicans are all over, and the Tea Partiers are, and that's your parents, the teachers, the public sector unions.
Do any of the candidates, potential candidates, scare you? Think that it would be a real addition to the ticket? A lot of people say Marco Rubio would really cut in to Barack Obama's advantage with Hispanics.
No, polls show that that's just not the case. Right. No, look, George, I think the do-no-harm philosophy is pretty right. No one votes for vice president, never have and never will. You just want a vice president who's an adult. And give Governor Romney credit. He said at the beginning of when he became the putative nominee, he said, most important to me is that person going to be ready to be president of the United States? I think he's going to pick an adult. I think it'll be someone like Rob Portman. If he's from a state that he could get some help
from
in,
Ohio, right.
even the better.
And Van Jones, a couple months ago, you were on this program. You said the best pick would be Condi Rice. Pretty clear that's not going to happen. No one pro-choice, it appears, is being considered. Does anyone worry you?
No, I mean, I frankly, you know, the Rubio talk, I think, now is definitely proven to be overrated. If the thing that needs to happen to get Florida away from the Republicans for Obama is to deal with the underwater home crisis there. You got about 90% of the homes that are underwater there. And once again, the Republicans won't even support the president in helping to get a refinancing bill moved through. Homeowners right now, I think, are the sleeping issue. You got 1/3 of Americans whose homes are underwater. You buy a house to gain wealth, to build wealth. Instead, people are draining wealth every time they sign that check. I think this president has a good bill to do something about it. If you want to deal with Florida, they can try to get Rubio if they want to. I don't think it's going to move the needle for him. But the president can move Florida just by going after helping the underwater homeowners.
Okay, let's talk about another issue that came up this week. That's that national security leaks, mostly to the New York Times, although also Dan Klaidman of Newsweek, having to do with this internet virus that went after the Iranian nuclear program. An article saying the president was behind that. An article that talking about him going through a kill list, terrorists he would go after with drones. And that created some great criticism from John McCain this week.
One could draw the conclusion from reading these articles that it is an attempt to further the president's political ambitions for the sake of his reelection at the expense of our national security.
The notion that my White House would purposely release classified national security information is offensive. It's wrong.
The president did get angry at those charges, Governor Huckabee, yet, as I pointed out with David Axelrod, the articles do cite people in the room talking about this program. So these investigations could pose some threat to the White House.
Well, they could. There's two issues. One is the fact that the New York Times says there were 36 sources that are in the White House or administration.
Although
that's
they
not
also
one
say
or
that
two.
the original leaks didn't come from the White House. They built on it.
But the other factor is that the information itself was, in fact, classified. You can't argue that. And when you have Democratic senators who are equally alarmed about it, as Senator Feinstein was, I think that's very significant. This is not a partisan issue. This really rises above it. Do I think that personally Barack Obama was involved in that? No, I don't. I think that's absurd.
And he would be angry, and he is clearly angry.
And I don't blame him for being angry. But the fact that people under him thought that they were doing him a favor by letting this stuff out to show that he's really tough, yes, I do believe that that would happen during an election year, and probably did.
Well, I mean, obviously, this is very early. We don't know what, in fact, is going on or what has gone on. First of all, I think this has kind of become a grab bag of hypocrisy here. First of all, I don't remember the Republicans complaining a lot when there were leak after leak after leak to scare the bejeebers out of the American people under the Bush administration. I don't remember that outrage. I'm surprised that we're talking more about the fact that there were leaks than the facts of the leaks themselves. If these stories are correct, and I hope that they're not, there's an assertion here that the President of the United States thinks he has the authority to kill people in 120 countries. We should be concerned about that, because I don't. First
you don't think he has the authority?
Well, I think that the underlying question here around what is best for our national security is a broader question than just who leaked what to who. And so part of what my big concern at this point is that we're about to go through another silly season of, now we're going to be arguing, should we have a special prosecutor, this, that, the other thing. The more important question for me is if, in fact, we are moving in a direction where the President of the United States, without oversight, has a kill list. That's concerning. And I think we should have that conversation, not have the conversation about the sort of
what do you mean without oversight? What the administration would argue is that there is due process throughout the administration, that this is not just an arbitrary decision the president makes. This is only when they have probable cause that someone is about to commit a terrorist act.
There is a question that has to be asked and answered, and this is not my area of expertise, but there's a question that has to be asked and answered here. Is this the right way for us to be doing our national security? Is this the best way? Does it meet the constitutional standards? Those kinds of questions, I think, need to be a part of this discussion. What we're going to do is we're going to skate past that, and it's going to become this whole thing of kind of political gotcha to figure out, well, is this something that is being done, engineered by the president, by not the president? There are deeper issues here.
I agree with Mike, and I slightly disagree with Van. Mike's right that this is clearly an issue that we ought to get to the bottom of. It's serious, and it should be bipartisan. Two, I guarantee you President Obama didn't know anything about it. He cares very deeply about protecting the men and women who are out there fighting this war against terror for us. I disagree with Van to the extent that we're at war with al-Qaeda. There's no question about it. We were and have been for the last 10 years. And if we can kill the people who are trying to kill us, that is a tough but appropriate use of presidential power.
First of all, just to lure him into interrupting me again, I don't think it is so clear that Obama has nothing to do with this. I mean, all these articles are absolute love letters to him. They show him being tough on terrorism, and I might add, both our intelligence and our military were very upset after Osama bin Laden was killed that Obama came out and said it was SEAL Team 6, and then 2 weeks later, SEAL Team 6
well, not the president,
shot.
but the information came out. They were angry about that the next day.
He said it in his own words in the speech, bragging about the killing of Osama bin Laden, and that was not good for intelligence. It was not good for SEAL Team 6. So I don't think it's so obvious. I'm not saying that he is involved, but that it's so obvious. And as for your point, that he's right. They are not actually, and Van's point, they are not limiting it to someone who's about to attack. They're known terrorists, and there are civilians being killed. And I don't necessarily disagree with you that we're at war with al-Qaeda and they ought to be killed. But where were you people when Bush was just detaining them? Oh, no, you're all hysterical about that. Obama's ordering them dead. And, well, we're at war.
Well, listen, I am a progressive Democrat, and I take human rights seriously. I take the Constitution seriously. And I do, and I agree with you. We can make some news today. I agree with you that we need to have a consistent standard about human rights in this country. That's all I'm saying. We are at war with al-Qaeda, but we also have a Constitution, and we shouldn't be at war with our principles and our values. We've got to be able to have a balancing act here. And I will say this. For ordinary people who are sitting at home trying to figure out what's going on here, I do think it's inappropriate for people to accuse the president of having engineered this. This is not this president. This is not a president that's going to go and engineer this kind of stuff himself. Frankly, if anything, he's going to be a lot closer to the letter of the law on any of these questions.
But he's signing off on the kill list.
Well,
and you are being consistent. It's these two who are saying...
And he's saying that there's no evidence. There's not one scintilla of evidence.
And nobody should ever say that.
Okay, you're back to the leak. I'm back to the corpus of the crime. And it's you're being consistent. The two of you are saying the kill list is okay because we're at war with al-Qaeda. Why weren't you rushing out there denouncing Democrats who were attacking Guantanamo?
I have the same concern with Guantanamo under Bush as I have. I'm going to be consistent about that kind of stuff. But here's the other thing I'm consistent about. We have now entered this weird situation in American politics where you have to agree with every single thing your guy does, or you're in trouble, and that's got to stop. I mean, we've got. I mean,
you feel that from the Obama campaign?
Oh no, I don't feel it from the Obama campaign.
You think?
Republicans have never been like that.
Both parties.
We have never been like that.
Listen, the worst thing you can do in a democracy now is everybody has to agree with every single thing that your guy has ever done, said, or thought, or you're somehow off the campaign trail. We've got to get beyond that.
To withdraw a Supreme Court nominee. We do not go blindly after our guys.
That gets me to my last topic. I want to get to one more topic before we run out of time, and that is the Supreme Court, and about to come down with a decision on the president's health care plan, probably in the next, well, it will be in the next couple of weeks before they go home. And I want to show an interesting poll that came out in the New York Times this week about the views of the court. Interesting. Only 44% of the American public now approves of the Supreme Court. That is a significant drop from recent years. 60% oppose life tenure, and 76% believe that personal opinions of the justices influence their decisions. And Governor Huckabee, this is interesting. Then, you know, as the Supreme Court is about to make this huge decision, they are at a low ebb in public opinion.
But the American people are at a high ebb of their disapproval of Obamacare. That's about almost a 70% margin of people who want it to be overturned.
Want the mandate struck down.
Exactly.
Right.
So if the Supreme Court wants to improve their standing, if they see this poll, they will overturn Obamacare, first on the basis of the law and the Constitution, which is the primary reason they ought to do it, and then because they, in fact, realize that it's just bad policy.
I think this is bigger than Obamacare. The Supreme Court's always been the bastion that the American people believed was non-political. Right. When Earl Warren, he knew he had the votes to do Brown versus Board of Education, but he knew that was going to be such a jarring, land-breaking decision, landmark decision, he worked hard to get a 9-0 vote. If we keep getting 5-4 votes on political questions, the court's standing with the American people is going to continue to erode.
Well, I think it's not just 5-4. It's whether the opinion is based on something that's written in the Constitution. That's really what the problem is.
Gore v. Bush?
Well, listen.
Yeah, all 9 justices agreed in the end.
States' rights justices took it away from the Florida
on the basis
Supreme
of then
Court?
the later media accounts, all 9 justices say Bush was president. So you ended up 9-0, but no, they were not.
But these were states' rights judges who took it away from the Florida Supreme Court.
No, wait a second. Hang on. The Constitution of the United States, which I am suggesting Supreme Court justices read, specifically gives to the state legislature the right to choose the next president. They don't even have to have an election in the states, according to our Constitution.
They said in that decision, don't pay any attention to this. This has no presidential value.
Not the good justices. Not Thomas and not Scalia. If you read the Constitution, there's only one answer.
We got the year 2012 right here.
Politicians should read it too.
Now we are talking about something I know a little bit about as an attorney. It is absolutely settled that the government can have people be forced to pay for universal health care. It's called Medicare. Now, the thing is it a tax? Is it a mandate? We have the authority to do this. But now, here's the problem that I have, and I said this last time I was on the show. This is a conservative answer. This is the individual mandate is the market-based conservative answer that the Heritage Foundation came up with. Liberals and progressives like myself said, let's do single payer. Let's do the public option. They said, no. Obama, trying to be bipartisan, says we're going to go with the Heritage Foundation's proposal. And now the Republican Party has become the pro-Mutra caucus.
But answer Governor Huckabee's argument. It's not only the Republican Party, it's the public opinion now is completely turned against it.
Partly because I think the Republican Party has taken the position that somehow their ideas, because Obama endorses them, are now socialism. And that that they would rather have people to have no responsibility dive bomb themselves into the emergency room and have the government pay for it. That's the Republican position now.
You talk about the Heritage Fund. You talk about the Heritage Foundation. You forgot the Republican candidate for president was in favor and enacted a mandate.
But it was
because he thought the man.
There's nothing
it doesn't matter.
unconstitutional about that. Because you think the Constitution doesn't matter. It does matter.
Answer the question.
I'm citing the Constitution. He's citing Great Society programs as if that's our founding document.
I am afraid I am going to have to stop this all. We are out of time. We are out of time. Your voice this week is coming right up, but first. A trip into our video vault. 3 moments from this week history. What year was it?
We know something about what happened in Central Park.
An attack on a Central Park jogger drew headlines around the world and prompted a soul-searching debate on our roundtable.
I'm delighted. I think he's done a good job.
RNC Chair Lee Atwater told David Brinkley he was thrilled that President Bush would not dump Dan Quayle. And check out Dick Cheney stopped dead in his tracks by Sam Donaldson.
Did he know before you made your public statement what you were going to do?
About the budget cuts?
Yes.
I briefed him several weeks ago.
Why did he say last Saturday that he didn't contemplate defense cuts?
Now, Sam, as far as I'm concerned, the President and I are very much in accord.
Was it 1989, 1990, or 1991? We'll be right back with the answer. So, what year was it? Sam Donaldson went toe-to-toe with Dick Cheney. President Bush stood by Dan Quayle. And the Central Park jogger case all took place 23 years ago, 1989.